and welcome back to the Peak Forest Canal again. It's Tuesday morning and we take off where we left off last week, here just outside Woodley Tunnel near Stockport. As you probably noticed, the weather's not quite as summer-like as it was last Thursday when I signed off standing at this very spot. It has actually been snowing overnight in quite a few large spots of the UK. Bringing it in closer here to the other side of the bank, you might just be able to make out the specks of white on all the ferns. Surprisingly, Greater Manchester has had a luckier escape than Sheffield has. We've also had a bike wheel added to the scenery since last week as well. Any takers? I still remember that I owe you all a bridge. So we begin by crossing underneath this big fella, straight outside the cavern. It carries now what I believe is just a single track from some works at Brebury, but connects round to the passenger line just south of Woodley Station. But it's scarcely used, I believe. It was part of a through passenger line itself once though. Couldn't see the plaque as I went past it. It's bridge number 12A. Cheerio Woodley Tunnel, and whatever that bridge is called, unless bridge 12A is the most imaginative thing that can be bothered to cough up. Obviously the back of some factory wall from the past. Don't know the story behind that one, folks, I apologise. But straight in front of us now, with this gentleman that's coming towards me, is bridge number 12. And behind it, another of these little beautiful Canalside gardens. Somehow a little cold to be sitting out there today. Lovely little ledge here as we get near to the bridge. I don't know if it's actually a jetty or anything. It says 323 underneath it though. On top of it, excuse my inaccuracy, I think I'll leave that one in the video actually. Got to appreciate the compact little design of Bridge 11. With the ramp on both sides, yet designed sensitively enough not to impede the towpath. I wonder if it always been like this from the start though. Excuse me my grammar. I wonder if it's always been like this from the start. I'm really tripping my words today, aren't I? We begin to pick up on our first barge of the day already. A lovely traditional dark blue here. And a lovely little, mostly green and also purple garden sitting on top. About the first time I've seen one of these since Whaley Bridge. Seems the sun's got the duty out there of making sure it still manages to grow a few flowers throughout the winter. How's this for a lovely shot? Ducks, snow, sun. And some water lilies as well. Turning swiftly back to the subject in hand. And we've got ourselves a mill here. At last. First time I've seen one of those by the canal for a bit. While, because of the trees doing their usual thing and not having all shed their leaves for the season ahead, I can't quite see through to it other than the chimney all that clearly. I can at least, however, tell you that the building the chimney belongs to is Unity Mill, a former cotton mill built in the 1860s, originally known as Trianon Mill back in its working heyday. Hey, Trianon, nice to see you. I might, however, have been a little bit rude to this poor old mill here, because further along there's a fraction of an easier viewing opportunity. Lovely assortment of windows. A lot, though, obviously lacking glass. Some nice little outbuilding on the bottom left there. And also below here, we've got what might have been some tiny little basin, possibly associated with the mill back in the day. Can't see any stairs to get down to it though. Bridge number 10, here we are. A couple of horses up there, out for their 11s. Somewhat reminded of Staveley there. Well, the barges aren't in abundance today on the canal, so the ducks have to fill in. Some rather fervent conversation going on there. Our flipping neck gets in with the camera again. They all say, hide your faces, boys. This lot seem to like me though. They won't do as much when I tell them I haven't got any bread with me. Le Bridge Numéro 9. And the first we need to almost duck getting underneath today. Duck, just for the record, was strictly not intended as a pun. That was almost funny there. How about this cracker? What happens when Gillette runs out of its memory? Why, he has to erase a few files, doesn't he? Turning and looking back here for a moment, I'm merely reminded of that wide towpath we had back at Marple after the tunnel. Now, as we amble our way along further along the top of Apethorn Woods, I have also this to show you here, which is just a nondescript footbridge at first, where these two barges are resting. But up a lane to the right, a couple of minutes walk, is a lovely 2 mile long disused railway path leading to Godley, where the former line connected with the still current Manchester to Hadfield and Glossop route. And I will be hopefully including that on a Dave's Dead Lines feature early in 2025. So don't go away. In the meantime, we'll be going under this little green wander. And I will have to owe you an apology at this moment, because these two barges are only one, and it is actually a British Waterways vehicle as opposed to a private barge. Good morning, lads. What do you think for the biting cold today? That means terrible then. Oh, this is one of the sharpest S-turns I've been on a canal towpath for quite a bit. Not even Chesterfield comes close to this one. Nice spot of grassland on the right. Don't know if it's part of a farm or a grazing pasture or anything. Arriving now into Hortondale, as the sign on the left merrily indicates. Also indicates that someone around here got a bit too hungry and found that wooden sign saying local nature reserve rather tasty. And so nature beckoned. Just for the record, I don't own a motorbike, a gun, and I did go fishing when I was in my school years, but my rods are at the far back in the garage, very rusty and probably broken. Oh dear, did we have some wind over there lately? Or someone's wild stallion got even wilder than we imagined? Now you might remember the switch bridges from one of the previous instalments of this walk. Well, at long last, here on the outskirts of Hyde and approaching, we finally have another. The first thing you notice on meeting this one is that we have to do the reverse to what we did at Marple. We go up the ramp first this time, and a somewhat rather unwell looking parapet. And I have to warn you, this might be a bit tricky. we have to go down a very slippery, muddy, spiral cobbled stairway, or rampway, to put it more precisely, to get back down again. I'm definitely playing with fire, holding a practically new mobile phone on a tripod while trying to ease my way down here, all the way underneath Bridge 7 at the end. But we did it! Hooray! But what lies right in front now? A blooming pipe bridge. You just can't avoid those blooming pipe bridges, can you? Have to say though, this one looks a little bit more fancier than the other ones. Fancier as regarding the shape of that panel up there. Nice variety of pipes on that one as well, so we'll let them off for this one. Hiding just around the corner here, as we stroll into Hyde, we have a handsome army of barges sitting, greeting us onwards through Greater Manchester's enchanted echelons. And also a potentially enchanting garden for the future over there as well. Definitely getting ready for next summer here, well in advance. Now, one of these fair ladies I'm just about to come by has often been a bit of an eye catcher for me, and one that I've always had to stop and look at when I'm passing on the bike. Unfortunately though, it might not any longer retain the same livery that drew my loyal attention. There's this one here in this now grubby green scheme. There are some remains of what it had on before. It looked like it was designed to be a floating garden shed. It had this sort of a artificial sort of shed board exterior with bits of ivy and everything on the top of it. I somehow get that sinking feeling that we might need to start moving along again. Speed bump. Time to duck down again a little. Oh come on, it wasn't that low. Another fine industrial structure takes shape. As we make our gallant march on bridge number 6, which should actually be bridges number 6, because there is in fact 2 of them stood cheek by jowl, we also have to stop here a bit before we do our switch. The sheds you can see just across behind me stand on the site of the former Hyde Colliery, which the canal made an evident beneficiary. The site through the bushes next to me here enjoyed a bustling trade, but that trade ended in tragedy in 1889 when 23 people were killed in a gas explosion underground. This memorial plaque has been sitting on the side of the bridge since 2001. unveiled by the councillor in commemoration of all those who lost their lives that day in 1889. Well, like I said, we've got another switch bridge here, so let's do the switch. Sorry if you're hoping to see another book exchange rack like you did back at Markham Marina, but unfortunately there isn't one here. Anyway, heading on to a happier chapter, we have a lovely shed over there, as well as what looks like another wharf building. Which, as we'll budge past it a bit further, we'll then turn around and enjoy from a much more clearer perspective. Shed. Warehouse. Another better angle on things. Might come as a relief for you to know that there is actually another tunnel just up here. If you're under the mistaken impression that there weren't any on this video, our last tunnel of the Peak Forest Canal trip. Time to enjoy. Lovely to see where you're going in this one, unlike at Woodley. I apologise if you're hoping to see a good old-fashioned tunnel-shaped arch rather than this concrete square cut, some might say travesty. Having the towpath this low to the canal level curiously sounds safer, except when there's a flood. Don't know why. Anyway, we're up out of the reaches of Hyde again and away into the trees. And we have an interesting abutment maybe on our right hand side there. I'll have to look at the maps as I don't remember any record of a railway bridge or a road bridge at this point. And it isn't one on our left either. Rather modern looking brickwork actually. I'll have to ponder that one. Notice some distinct platform over there as well. The trees would make a good waiting shelter these days, wouldn't you think? At least in the summer. Some ducks out for the afternoon dawdle. Blimey, he knows how to catch up. Nice little lake down there. Next bridge right ahead with two ways around it, and you hardly need telling which one of those I prefer the most. Well, it's the one with the plank rank next to it, of course. And a pipe cunningly attached right to the front. Possibly another of those bite-sized basins over there that might have existed at one time. And right in front of us now, the leaves switch to this beautiful, zesty orange tone. We have a few more barges right in front now though, as we come into Warble Wharf. I don't know its actual name, but there's a nice, quite artistic collection once again. You never get tired of looking at these things, do you? Well, this one here is someone who quite evidently takes privacy quite seriously. Feels a little hard to tell towpath and water apart at this point, don't you think? Good job I'm not out here at night. Round the corner we come to bridge number 3. Unlike number 4 before, it's either over or under. And like before, I automatically opt for the latter. Oops, lost a couple of bricks down there. Sure, there used to be a gate out at one point. No, they certainly don't build them like they used to. When I was young, there used to be a popular evening show on TV called Without Walls, quite ironically. This bridge is certainly not without one. Well, it's got an iron wall now. And it's not without a lovely set of riveted girders still holding it up. Straight behind Bridge 2 and down on the left we have a sewage treatment plant, or water treatment plant, whichever like to be known as. Sorry, I can't bring up which company owned this one. That's what I don't actually know, which is an embarrassment really, because I work for a civil engineers firm which have water treatment firms as a star client. Still, it's great to have a breather just don't try to breathe in the smell if you're walking past here. If you've never gone past one of these things before, I'll give you a clue. Bad eggs. And those crafty ducks are still at it. Now, keeping the word duck firmly in your radar, we may very well have to do a bit of that under this next bridge now, which is the Manchester to Hadfield and I think Leeds as well railway route. Actually, the clearance is 7 feet, I believe, but holding a camera on a tripod in front of me, I might still have to be precautious because there's bumps and puddles in abundance straight beneath. Though again, plenty of rivets, showcasing the strength of fine railway engineering. Well, we've got to have a train at some stage, haven't we? In fact, we've got to have a barge at some stage. They certainly like their blue around here, don't they? A merry little allotment across the other side. Nowhere near as eye-catching as this other guy's is here. Remember when this was just being put together? This pristine little gazebo. He hadn't yet painted it grey yet though, back in 2020. We must perhaps be in the posh part of Greater Manchester here. Gardens and steps and gazebos everywhere you look. Another one that's all in blue, but this time it's two blues. Oh sorry, some white and some grey. Above and beyond the call of duty with this array of colour most likely. Looks like someone meanwhile's got their own little secret village over the other side there. And this, ladies and gentlemen, takes us right up to the number one bridge for today, which literally is bridge number one. This luscious little lifting bridge, just half a mile short of Ashton Under Lyne, is very similar in design to the ones you saw at Disley on my August video. Although it won't see much action for the next 5 months, as ducks and geese are the only things likely to be going underneath. Well, there's still a plank rack here, if that's any consolation. Sorry lads, did I say something? Now, taking a quick detour down across the grass on my left here, we have another of Greater Manchester's most majestic waterways, the wonderful River Tame. And that imposing 200-foot historic chimney in the background, which you shall be meeting when I video the Ashton Canal next year. Oh, I've got a couple more creeping up behind me here. Sorry guys, did I leave something behind at the lift bridge? Cheers for returning it. Someone evidently getting ready for Christmas. Great to see that Christmas tree suppliers consider barge owners very readily. Can certainly say these two lads don't look too happy to see me around. A good old Ashton Under Lyne waterside welcome, I gather. Oh. I apologise on behalf of the geese for interrupting my video there. Hi guys, want to say something for your mum back home? While I leave those two guys alone to get their thoughts together for the camera, I've got to confess that while I said that lift bridge was my number one for the day, this lovely light green number in front nearly steals that biscuit straight off them. Even if the paint job's somewhat lacking since the last visit. Bridge A, eh? I'll probably give it A minus. As an interesting support structure part there, which almost stands alone as a gap of about 2 meters between it and the actual parapet. So I don't know if another track ran just in front. With that chimney again on my left looking down on me and smiling, we look over to our right instead, however, and see the junction to Portland Basin Marina, where an assortment of barges are waiting the dose of tender loving care. Unfortunately, this little offshoot is largely private property, so this position here by a couple of age-old stone gate posts is probably as close as we can get legally. We can maybe see what's happening to one or two watercraft in the distance. I've got to say, this is another definite eye catcher here. This blue and white one, which got a scheme reminiscent of the old 70s British gas vans. Anyone old enough to remember those watching probably are. Hope I remembered to pay my bill last week. Well, at least I've not seen anything coming through the post just lately. With just 10 metres of our Peak Forest Canal journey left to go, let's take a third and final look at the imposing River Tame and that as imposing chimney on the sun-setting horizon, where its presence is more than effectively felt. And that just leaves us one last bridge. This smoothly shaped stone footway almost above our heads is where not only our towpath ends, but two others connect, with an almighty wharf waiting to meet all who pass her by. Undoubtedly including all geese as well. Portland Basin, here at the lip of Ashton Under Lyne town centre, connects the Peak Forest Canal, the Hyde Canal, and also the Ashton Canal from Manchester, all at this spectacular urban confluence. This imposing brick industrial monolith was built by the Balehouse Company in 1834, and while its trades have changed over the impeding near 2 centuries since, it is now open as a popular museum. It is also a credit to the engineering geniuses such as Outram and Telford back in the 18th century that waterways like this can connect and convey industry and passengers and goods to other places all across the country. In an age where the railway was a rich man's game, or rarely above a pipe dream for some. With the afternoon November sun setting upon us more rapidly, and of course the chimney, it is sadly now time to wrap up our adventure along the Peak Forest Canal, which I very much enjoyed and I hope you have as well. Just leaves me to say thanks for watching, especially if you've managed to stay through the whole 4 segments with me. I admit, filming on a mobile and a half-broken tripod for several months is the most practicable way of doing things. Still, you survived. Still, with the gates closed on another adventure, it's time for me to find my way back to Manchester. So make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. And who knows, the next barge could be pushed out especially for you. Until then, happy towpathing. Take good care. Bye bye. Well, seeing as that poppycock's over for the year, I can get rid of this ridiculous moustache for a while. No, don't, Ronnie. What? We're shooting again in a couple of weeks' time. Sorry, Dave, old boy. But I reckon I look rather dashing. You're fired, mate.